I'd like to thank the member for Bundoora for submitting this matter of public importance, because it certainly is a matter of public importance. In fact, it's one of the top 2 issues that's raised in my office every single week. And largely it's because of lack of rental stock. And we've also seen a dramatic increase in homelessness in regional and rural Victoria. That includes the great northwest of the state. And given that the electorate of Mildura goes down into the Wimmera Mallee, it's increased there as well. And you can see it. That's the thing. You can really see it. It's quite confronting. And there's been a noticeable increase in recent times. But when we talk about a housing crisis, and that's what people are coming to my office talking about, this housing crisis, of course there's a housing crisis. It's now so hard for mum and dad investors to stay in the long-term rental market. And the private sector is how we're going to solve some of this housing crisis, particularly for renters. I heard a fact the other day, 80% of rental properties are from mum and dad investors, and they have but one additional property that they have acquired through astute investing to help them out in their retirement. I've been talking to real estate agents, as I do a lot of the time, and they have told me, Ryan Tierney, Director at Tierney Real Estate in Mildura, told me that directly after the budget, and there was new and increased taxes introduced, he lost, in the 2 weeks following the budget, 6 houses, rental properties per week, that were either going to the largely unregulated short stay market, they were just pulling them from the long-term rental market, or they were being sold to owner-occupiers. Just had a message from another real estate agent in Mildura, Ben Ridley, another local sporting icon as well. All real estate agents seem to be icons in the country. But he says that he is still losing, he is losing 6 to 8 long-term rental properties per week. And we wonder why there's a rental crisis. Rental reforms have just gone too far. And in my electorate, and it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. We've finally seen some little trickles of the big housing builds starting to come into Mildura and Robinvale. However, new houses being built, but half the amount of bedrooms. So 2 and 3 bedroom houses are being demolished and rebuilt in single bedroom units, which doesn't help solve that housing for people that really, really need it. And these are the ones that we see each and every day that are sleeping rough down by the river, that are camping. We hear of people all the time camping on the river in cold caravans. Someone approached, even in towns like Birchip, where there is a community housing group that help to raise funds. They go out there and they raise their own money and they build community housing. It's a great model. More small towns should adopt this kind of model. But even they are having trouble finding housing, adequate housing for people as young as 23 that can't get housing, and they're having to live, they can't be at home for whatever reason, and having to live in caravans in the middle of winter. The temperature in the country last night, well, in my hometown, was -3 degrees. Imagine being in an unheated caravan at -3 degrees. So yes, I do believe that the private sector has also a huge part to play in this, but they need to be able to do it. They need to be able to move. Planning provisions need to be, there needs to be maybe special considerations given to planning in regional and rural areas. There needs to be officers, maybe less public housing agencies, some officers that will actually look at plots of land, and many of them, there are many plots of land, particularly in rural areas, where water buybacks have affected those areas. Dewatered land has been sitting there for, and we're talking 30 acres. Imagine how many houses you could put on 30 acres, and yet planning provisions prohibit rezoning. Now, this could be wonderful housing. It could even be allow people to move out of town, out of their city dwellings, and build beautiful rural lifestyle blocks. But we can't do it because from a desktop, where they look at the colour of the land and it's in the middle of agricultural land, they immediately say, no, you can't do it. I would love the Planning Minister and some department heads to actually come and have a look and see what could be done. That would go a long way to solving the housing stock crisis in my part of the world. There's also about to be a jobs avalanche in particularly Mildura, Robinvale and neighbouring Swan Hill, with the boom that's about to take off again with mineral resources and renewable energies and the investment that we're seeing there. We have 250 construction jobs ready to go at both Tronox and Iluka. Where are they going to live? These are not fly-in, fly-out mines that we see in Western Australia with big mess halls and big accommodation builds. If there was, or if we were getting some of the Commonwealth Games investment in Mildura, which we weren't getting, so we weren't going to get any of that workers' accommodation that could have been used after it was at Athletes Village. We're not getting any of that. It could have solved some of that problem. However, and there's more exploration going on over the river at Euston. Now, the New South Wales government actually facilitated an industry workforce forum recently, and top of that list was housing for all. Now, I can't illustrate, words can't describe how different it is standing on the Victorian side of the river and seeing the development going on 500 or 50 metres away in some cases on the New South Wales side, because people are literally jumping the river. They can still work in Victoria, run their farms in Victoria, but it's much easier to build their dream home in Golgol, in Baronga, in Euston, so we don't increase housing stock here at all. In Robinvale, for example, and the investment into mineral resources and renewables there, and we've already had a lot and we've seen it before, there is zero rental stock. Zero. And we have people that are sleeping rough down on the riverbank. We have them, again, sleeping in caravans. And we have people wanting to build their beautiful lifestyle blocks on the river, but planning prohibits that. And it's not only sometimes the planning provisions, it's the lack of planners that are still in the public system. We have a lot of planners in the private sector that have set up their own consultancy business, but that doesn't help with the backlog of planning applications that have been put through, which is a real issue. In fact, there's one development that was in Robinvale where the council had built a levy bank, and people that owned the blocks behind there, again, so they could build their forever home or downsize so that they could free up town properties. They were told after the levy bank was built, then it would be, okay, go ahead and build. Now they're being told 2 years after the levy bank's construction, it will be another 2 years. The backlog, the planning backlog is killing development and the increase of housing stock in regional and rural Victoria. It's choking that private investment that will go a long way to solving this. And when you talk about private investment, if I was to take $770,000 to a builder, he would build me a really nice home. We talk about the $1 billion regional housing fund, and I spoke about the Com Games before and the legacy that would be left. And in Mildura, we were looking for some sort of activity for the Com Games. We were getting very little, but I know council were working on it. 1,300 houses works out to, well, that $1 billion housing fund, 1,300 houses works out to $770,000 plus land. Now, land is, comparatively speaking, not that expensive, but $770,000 for a home in the regional housing fund? I could build a really, really nice home for half that. For a quarter of that, you could build one-bedroom units. I just think whoever is working the calculator needs to get a new calculator or new batteries. So as far as housing goes in the regions and in rural areas, we can see it. It is amplified because we can see it everywhere. Rental reforms have gone too far. Rent freezes, despite what the Greens are pushing, rent freezes will only make that worse, because I'm not sure if you know how it works. Renters need landlords. I know they've been called evil property barons before, but like I said, 80% of property investors are mum and dads with one additional property, and renters need landlords. They just want a bit of respect. That is how it works.